The Galactic Concord had catalogued humanity as insignificant. On the universal threat scale, humans ranked below venomless reptiles and malfunctioning service drones. They were small, fragile, short-lived, and endlessly emotional. Their planet was noisy, overpopulated, and rich in resources, which made it an easy target. When the Velkari Dominion arrived in Earth orbit, they did not bother with diplomacy. Why would they negotiate with a species that still argued over borders and flags? The Velkari broadcasts declared humanity's surrender before humans even knew there was a war. Across the stars, the Concord watched with mild curiosity. No one expected resistance. Humans had no planetary shields, no unified fleet, and no understanding of true interstellar combat. The Velkari commanders laughed as their scanners showed panicked signals and chaotic launches. They mistook confusion for weakness. They mistook fear for surrender. What they did not understand was that humans had seen extinction before. They had faced plagues, world wars, collapsing ecosystems, and near-nuclear annihilation. Survival was written into their bones. As Velkari landing forces descended, the humans did something unexpected. They stopped arguing. They stopped competing. They started adapting. Human leaders knew they could not win a conventional war. So they chose an unconventional one. They abandoned cities. They shut down power grids. They erased digital infrastructure. Velkari weapons relied on energy absorption and targeting networks. Without power signatures, their advantages faded. Human scientists reverse-engineered captured debris within days. Not years, not decades, days. They shared discoveries freely across nations, something previously thought impossible. Civilians were evacuated underground, while volunteers stayed behind. Farmers became supply officers. Engineers became weapon designers. Gamers became drone pilots. The Velkari began encountering traps instead of armies. Invisible mines made from repurposed industrial tools. Atmospheric disruptions created by crude but effective chemical reactions. Each human loss hardened the survivors. Each defeat refined their tactics. The invaders started to realize something was wrong. The humans were not retreating. They were learning. Velkari soldiers began whispering over encrypted channels. Humans did not fight like any species they had encountered. They fought wounded. They fought outnumbered. They fought even when logic said retreat. Captured Velkari reported psychological stress unlike anything recorded. Humans smiled under fire. They joked during bombardments. They protected strangers as if they were family. One Velkari battalion vanished entirely in the ruins of an abandoned city. Surveillance showed humans luring them block by block, using sound, light, and false signals. When the Velkari command ship attempted orbital bombardment, human forces hacked targeting systems using analog interference. Old technology immune to advanced countermeasures. The first Velkari dreadnought fell to a kinetic weapon built from mining equipment. No energy shields could stop pure mass and velocity. That was the moment fear crossed the battlefield. Humans were no longer afraid of the Velkari. The Velkari were afraid of humans. The Galactic Concord intervened too late. They sent observers, not reinforcements. They wanted data. What they witnessed horrified them. Humans boarding enemy ships in vacuum using magnetic boots and manual tools. Humans disabling fleets by targeting supply chains instead of ships. The Velkari attempted negotiation. Humans agreed. But the terms were not surrender. The terms were withdrawal, reparations, and permanent demilitarized zones. When the Valkyrie hesitated, humans demonstrated. A coordinated strike disabled 3 fleets without loss of civilian life. The Concord finally understood. Humans were not peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they chose to be. The Valkyrie Dominion signed unconditional withdrawal accords. Their empire fractured soon after. Fear spread faster than their fleets ever had. Humanity was reclassified overnight. Threat level maximum. Diplomatic priority absolute. New galactic protocols were written. Never provoke humans. Never underestimate humans. Never corner humans. Humans returned to rebuilding their world. Arguing again, debating again, competing again. But now the galaxy watched carefully. Because it had learned the truth. This is why you don't mess with humans. Long after the Valkyrie fleets vanished beyond known space, the galaxy struggled to understand what had truly happened. Many believed the humans had simply been lucky. Others claimed the Valkyrie were already weakening from internal decay. But those who studied the conflict closely knew better. Humanity had revealed something ancient and dangerous. Not superior strength, not superior technology, but superior refusal to give up. Galactic analysts replayed combat recordings again and again. They slowed down the footage. They translated intercepted communications. They examined casualty reports with growing unease. Humans did not fight for conquest. They did not fight for glory. They fought because someone tried to take their home. This distinction mattered more than any weapon. Across the Concord, military academies updated their doctrines. Entire courses were rewritten around a single case study labeled Earth conflict. Instructors warned cadets that humans must never be pushed into total war. Because humans did not escalate gradually. They adapted explosively. A single failed human colony ship sent shockwaves through 3 sectors years later. Its destruction had been ruled an accident. But when investigators arrived, they found the attackers gone. Their stations dismantled. Their records erased. Only one message remained carved into metal using primitive tools. You should have stopped. Merchants who traded with humans noticed strange habits. Humans overprepared for disasters that never came. Humans planned for failure as carefully as success. Humans built redundancies inside redundancies. Where other species sought efficiency, humans sought survivability. Diplomats learned that threatening humans was a mistake. But so was patronizing them. Humans responded poorly to both. They preferred honesty, even brutal honesty, because lies felt like the opening move of a war. The Concord officially declared humanity a stabilizing anomaly, a species whose presence discouraged aggression simply by existing. Pirate activity dropped near human space. Border skirmishes vanished. Not because humans patrolled constantly, but because no one wanted to find out what would happen if they crossed the line. Human veterans struggled after the war. Not from fear, but from silence. They returned to civilian life, carrying memories no one else in the galaxy could truly understand. They rebuilt cities with the same hands that had dismantled empires. They taught children under skis once filled with enemy fire. And still they argued. About politics. About resources. About philosophy. The galaxy mistook this for instability. But it was simply humanity returning to its natural state. One Concord historian summarized it best in a classified report. Humans are chaotic in peace and terrifying in unity. Years later, a young species asked why humans were given so much autonomy, why their borders were respected without enforcement fleets, why treaties with them were written so carefully. The answer was simple. Everyone remembered the Valkyrie. They remembered how an empire that spanned hundreds of systems collapsed after touching one small blue planet. They remembered how humans turned disadvantage into strategy, pain into resolve, fear into momentum. They remembered that humans had stopped fighting not because they were defeated, but because there was no longer a reason to continue. That realization unsettled the galaxy more than any show of force ever could. Because if humans ever decided there was a reason again, if they ever chose unity once more, no fleet would be enough. So the warning was passed quietly from world to world, from elder species to younger ones, from commanders to diplomats. Respect humans, trade with humans, learn from humans, but never corner them, never humiliate them, never make them believe survival is at stake. Because the last time that happened, the galaxy learned a lesson written not in treaties or laws, but in wreckage and silence. The warning had worked for decades. No empire tested human borders. No fleets lingered too close to their space. The galaxy learned to step carefully around Earth and its growing colonies. But peace does not last forever, especially not in a galaxy driven by hunger and fear. The Korth expanse faced collapse. Their stars were dying faster than predicted. Their resources dwindled. Their population panicked. Korth leaders searched for solutions. Migration was rejected. Negotiation was dismissed. Only one option remained: take what they needed. Their strategists studied history and found the same conclusion repeated again and again. Avoid humans. But desperation has a way of dulling memory. The Korth convinced themselves that humans had grown soft, that decades of peace had weakened them, that legends had replaced reality. They chose a human frontier system. Small population, limited defenses, far from Earth's. The Korth attack was swift and precise. Orbital platforms destroyed in seconds. Communication relays severed. Colonies isolated. The galaxy held its breath. Human response did not come immediately. There was no massive fleet jump, no angry broadcast, no threat issued. Instead, there was silence. Korth commanders interpreted this as confirmation. They pushed deeper, harvesting resources, occupying stations. Then the humans spoke, not with weapons, but with a single message transmitted across every known channel. Leave now. No threats followed. No demands were listed. Just 2 words. The Korth Council laughed. They voted unanimously to ignore it. That vote would later be studied as the moment everything ended. Human fleets arrived quietly. No grand formations. No banners. No intimidation displays. They appeared already positioned, as if they had always been there. Korth sensors struggled to track them. Human ships emitted almost nothing. Minimal energy signatures. Cold hulls. The first engagement lasted less than a minute. Korth vessels found their navigation systems unresponsive. Their weapons locked. Their engines stalled. Human boarding teams did not kill unless forced. They disabled crews. They sealed compartments. They took ships intact. The Korth sent reinforcements. They vanished before reaching the system. Supply convoys stopped arriving. Communication lines filled with static and false echoes. The humans were not attacking fleets. They were erasing logistics. One by one, Korth systems went dark. Power grids failed. Trade routes collapsed. Food shortages spread. The humans did not claim territory. They did not occupy worlds. They did not issue ultimatums. They simply applied pressure until the structure collapsed inward. Korth civilians began protesting their own leaders. Riots broke out on core worlds. Military officers refused orders they knew were useless. The Korth Council finally requested negotiations. They begged the Concord to intervene. They pleaded for mediation. The humans agreed to talk. The meeting was brief. Human representatives arrived without guards, without armor, without raised voices. They presented evidence, timelines, intercepts, casualty counts. They showed the council exactly when the warning had been issued, exactly when it had been ignored. Then they offered terms: immediate withdrawal from all human systems, restoration of damaged colonies, public acknowledgement of fault, and a binding commitment to never engage in expansion through force again. The Korth Council hesitated. They argued about sovereignty. They spoke of survival. A human delegate interrupted calmly. "Survival is why we warned you." That was all. The council signed. Human fleets withdrew as quietly as they had arrived. Captured ships were returned. Prisoners were released. No celebrations followed. The galaxy waited for retaliation, for punishment, for vengeance. None came. Human colonies were rebuilt. Korth systems stabilized under Concord oversight. Trade resumed cautiously. But something fundamental had changed. The younger species saw it clearly. Humans did not dominate through fear alone. They dominated through restraint. They could end civilizations, but they chose not to. That choice terrified the galaxy more than annihilation ever could. A Concord archivist added a final note to the human profile: if humans warn you, listen. Because if they stop warning, it means the decision has already been made. And somewhere on a quiet blue world, humans returned to their routines, arguing, building, dreaming, unaware that once again, they had saved a galaxy that would never truly understand them.